Hey, Haley. You know if you can hear me.
Hi.
Thank you. Having. It's transmitted. Guess I'm gonna have to buy like new stock and door stops or something. I know. They are. So let's get our journals out. We'll start with our writing ourselves into the room. All right, I'm gonna put the timer on. We'll start writing ourselves into the room just to get us focused on being present. Braden, have you already done your writing yourself into the room?
What?
Mm-hmm.
No, I'm done.
You can't be done because you're not supposed to be done till I tell you to be done. So I do think it might make sense if you keep a journal and then I can have one grade that shows that you participated in the writing to learn kind of thing. I won't read them because they're private, but it at least will feel like, oh, I'm supposed to do it. Not just tell Anna I'm doing it, even if I'm not.
But I am.
Ah! Anyway, just in case, thanks for the foil. All right, so one thing I don't know if did anybody not read Neighborhood Revolution yet?
Wasn't able to access them.
Well, did you take a paper copy?
Yeah, it's currently in my dorm where there's,
Did you get another one?
I could get it right now. There's just a crazy roommate situation, so I'm gonna log back in there for a bit.
You have terrible luck with that.
Yeah.
All right, so I do want to talk a little bit about writing to learn. And I made a mistake last week, so I want to just kind of get us centered around it. So we are going to be talking about things that are pretty important to education, but can get pretty contentious. So we have also, as teachers, as we're going to be going forward, we're going to have people in our classrooms that aren't going to agree with us. And yes, I'm talking about you. And so it's okay, but that's okay. It's a learning thing, and I should remember these things. So we have to learn how to do things in a way that invites everyone into the conversation to learn and grow, and not shut people off from feeling a part of our community. And I'll share an experience I had, because I'm pretty liberal and I'm pretty progressive, and I had a very biased opinion about Christian, like, nationalism or whatever, but I kind of just categorized everybody into it, kind of like politically. And I was teaching anti-bias education in my early childhood classes. I'm also, am I recording? Yes. And I've started to get a lot of students that have faith and are grounded in their faith, which is not a bad thing. But my own bias, like, I think when I used to teach anti-bias, I would start off like in infant and toddlers. There's a board book for families with two moms or dads or whatever. And I think I just said every classroom should have this no matter what. Well, a couple of years later, I found out that some Sunday school, a person who works at a Christian nursery school doesn't have any respect for us because I said that, and didn't have respect for the student that wanted to do her hours there because she worked there. And so I started to say that every child in your classroom should be represented no matter what, and that's not like always about what we believe. It's about the fact that we're here to make sure every child can thrive in your environment and they should feel seen. And I do think that part of that is to have books like the ones I will definitely share and show. However, what ended up happening, I didn't know about her, but then there was another person who left my class because I was talking about this, and she said her school she wants to transfer to in, I don't know where, a very Christian college, won't take our credits.
Well,
Yeah. And she just said she wouldn't take any of our education classes. And while a part of me and my boss was like, oh, well, my feeling is anti-bias has to go all the way around, right? And if people leave the conversation, then we can't have a conversation. There's no hope if we stop talking, right? Obviously, that person didn't have any desire to have a conversation because she's just like, I don't believe in this. And it wasn't true that her college wouldn't take that because the college wouldn't know, right? They would.
So she was just fibbing?
She was fibbing because she didn't believe what I was saying, and she, probably thought I was going to hell, but whatever. So then the next semester, or a little after, I had another student come in, and in my class, she said, I think we were sharing about our own life stories or whatever, and she was adopted, and she said that she was, thank God, a Christian family adopted her because two moms were going to adopt her. Now, I did say that I'm glad that you're happy in the family that you're in, but I also I think that if you feel really strongly that you can't teach people children who have two moms or two dads, then you need to always teach in a place like a Christian school or something. You can't really think you're going to go in a public school and make people feel invisible. That wouldn't be right. Now, this person, and it was a good thing for me to learn too, is now one of my, closest students, and she's very well respected, and she does really well, and she's grown a lot. So sometimes it really is about having a conversation and making sure we can grow, right? And if we are so in a place of where our comments can like just shut everything off, there is no growth. So it may feel like I'm not trying to play to one side or the other. I'm trying to get us to a place to really think through, what do we want for the students that are going to be in our class? And it's, we do have to supposedly, and probably more so even now, we do have to teach in a way that doesn't bring in the political beliefs, because we just do. And if we don't, we may not get to help people. And that's what you guys want as teachers, is to help students learn. And I want to help my students learn and meet their academic goals. So I want to say I've had to come to a point where it's not like my secret goal to get someone like over to my side. It's my goal is to seek to understand and to know I'm not always going to agree. But that's what I wanted to say about that. Just that I know it's really hard, and I think it's hard on both sides, because I told you how I got really offended too when I was first teaching, and they said I was basically a racist, which I didn't really understand. And so sometimes the way we talk about things, like if she said that sounds like it could be it has a racist, tone to it, or a under meaning. I really didn't know that it did, but I do now. And I was so focused on her saying that about me and not wanting to be looked at as a racist that I wasn't really open to learning from that experience. Now, the other thing that happened when I was a toddler teacher, and I know it's amazing that I didn't know that I could have, it sounds obnoxious, but that was an amazing learning experience for me. So I did have a child that was adopted by two moms, and he was Black, and absolutely adored this kid, and his moms adored me, but they also, I had so much respect for them and they had respect for me, were able to tell me that that just because I definitely was in this place of like, oh, I love all children equally, I'm colorblind, I don't see color. That's bullshit. We should be celebrating every single shade that is in this room and every single part of our identity. And they were able to teach me how to use words to describe his beautiful hair and his lips and things, and showed me what I didn't know, but not in a way that made me feel like I was being ignorant or racist. And that is something they were older than me and they had more experience, but they did it in a way that it didn't oh, they think I'm racist, so now I'm not going to deal with them, right? So it's very hard. These are hard things to talk about, and we just have to traverse them. And hopefully everybody can stay open to that. So the other thing I did wrong with the Writing to Learn is when someone when we go through and initially share, a person shares and we don't offer comment. And I probably should stop offering comment as well, because sometimes I try to stretch things. But when I do it, then other people feel like they can do it. And there is a point which I may say, okay, now we're going to talk about this. But when people are sharing kind of their initial thoughts about something, let's try to do that noticing thing I kind of brought up last time. And then when we're kind of done sharing, because not everybody's going to share every time, then we can go back to what we noticed. And so noticing is a good thing to kind of practice, just because you want to, believe me, you're going to have to learn to have a way that you're going to teach your students how to actively listen. And noticing generally is kept for positive things, but I think if you have ideas or concerns or brought up something that you feel like we should talk about because we're going to be future teachers, then we can do it in a way that's this is what I was wondering. And when this was said, it made me wonder how it would make other people feel or whatever.
I feel like open discussion in classrooms is good.
Well, we're gonna have the open discussion, but we're gonna delay it so it's not interrupting someone. I think that Amelia is right. We were kind of taking away from Dwayne's chance to share his comment, but we all did it then because we all went off on our own thing, right? We need to leave each person to say their thing. And then when we decide it's time to have an open discussion, we'll do it, just not during a person's, when we're actually sharing. We'll get used to it. We also want to notice, we're noticing not only what people are saying about whatever their experience is, but also we want to talk about how do we teach these things. So we're kind of doing behind the curtain and also, oh, what, Amelia? No.
I see what you're saying and I think it's like really great. And I would like to take it as like a guidance forward. But being who I am and I'm never gonna follow everybody's rules. And I'm very adamant about people getting heard who need to be heard. And I don't see myself as non-confrontational and non-political in my discussions, and that's gonna be difficult for me. I can see it's something I'm gonna have to learn.
Right, and that's why we're gonna practice it.
Yeah,
And you can still do all that when we get to the noticing.
yeah.
And honestly, what you said about Dwayne not getting interrupted was an important thing to say. But if I'd been following the writing to learn, then we wouldn't have had to deal with it.
All right.
At that time. You know what I'm saying? And I want to say that I hear you and I do the same thing, or I have always done the same thing. But if you decide to be a head teacher, and you're gonna have a hard time.
I understand. Because people above you, higher,
And their parents.
they don't want you to be biased towards any, it's almost like being a reporter. Like you report the information, but you don't have an opinion.
You can have an opinion, they don't want you to have it in the class or put it on display in the classroom. Like one of my favorite teachers that I'm super close with, she was a really big Democrat in Ithaca and on the union. And it was to the point where she wasn't really like to wear the t-shirt or put the button on, just like try to be in a neutral place, teach them both sides, teach them how to think about each thing critically, and hope that as we raise people to think critically, that the process works and people make decisions that aren't difficult. He had his hand raised.
So if we encounter somebody with this is just my view. If you encounter somebody with different views, let them get to the root of their idea. Don't interrupt or try to change their mind immediately. Because you're just not.
And there's ways to change. You can't change a lot of people's minds, not when we're upset. I do feel that you were trying to defend a person's space. And I mean, I actually don't have a problem with either of the sides. I actually applaud both people speaking their mind. But as the teacher and the leader, I'm saying, if we really want everybody to be able to develop their voice and their ability to advocate, then we have to have these guidelines. But what were you going to say?
Well, you say get both sides. So does that mean you're going to then next, this is inner city, this is reservation, are we going to talk about like the elite next?
Yeah.
And
Not today, but I have all that stuff in there. This happened one time when this woman who was in a PhD program had to take my class, and it would be like next week we're going to do something, and the person was acting like I'm ignorant and don't know something, but it was coming.
I understand, and I'm not saying you're ignorant.
I'm not saying you are, but that person was, because she's like, I think I could do a better job teaching this class, and I'm like,
She said that to you?
pretty much.
So that's dumb.
So yeah, I'm big into the elitist piece, but this right now, what I'm trying to get to is people's journeys with education and their experiences with teachers, and not that piece. And because what I want these personal narratives to get us to is not necessarily, I want to have a view, an array of backgrounds culturally, but I really want to get to know what the array is in here of people's educational experience. And so the idea of reading other people's personal narratives was more to get us ready to write our own. And so some people will, we're going to do some really, one thing I love is, what is it? I can't even think what's on there. There's a podcast we're going to listen to that is basically exactly what you're talking about. And I can't believe that it's leaving my mind because it's going blank. But, and when you read Journey to Teach by Ayers, don't worry, we're going there. This was really, I love that this is where this is going because teachers need to be here. This is where we need to be. This is right. This is the controversy. We may actually have it taken away from us. Like they're going to not fund things if we talk about things. So we need to actually talk about how we're still going to make sure every child is seen and that they get the whole picture of the whole world. All right. And so we won't, if we only go with the confrontation, we're going to be invited not to teach, basically, is what I'm saying. So we got to be a little strategic. And I think we should have to be strategic? No, and it pisses me off. But every child deserves to be seen. So that's right for in here too. And I didn't do a good job of making sure that that happened for Dwayne or for anybody, because if we had done the writing to learn, then, we'd be talking about personal narratives, but that's okay because we were going to talk about this anyway. And so I actually always hope that teachers are going to be advocates. A lot of people are a little bit quiet at the beginning and a little bit afraid to do that because of tenure. But we also have a lot of people coming to teaching now who are non-traditional students like Amelia, who know what they want to do and know what they want to believe in. When I was younger, I didn't really understand the nuances of all that and how it impacted my classroom. And a lot of people need more experience, and telling them doesn't do the same thing as having them experience it. But we're also may become teachers in a time where that experience isn't going to be the same that we would hope that it would be. Yeah. So it's very scary. And I still want you to be able to be there for your students in a way that gives them a home place, like Bettina Love, who we'll talk about at some point, and empowers them to be a citizen and a person in their own life, to fight for what they believe in. And yes, we can all hope it's what we believe in, but I say that knowing that we all have different beliefs, okay? So hopefully that's enough about that, and we can go forward with that. And I think this group is definitely going to keep discussing things and debating things, and that's okay, as long as we do it with respect. All right. So, but when we do share our first thoughts about things, let's just go through however many we're going to do and not comment. You can do a noticing and try. A lot of times the noticings are just positive things, but we will also know anything we think is a controversy or it's something we should talk about as future teachers. We can talk about that too. All right. Hopefully that helps, and hopefully I'll be more able to catch things early on. I will say that Dwayne isn't here because of a family thing. And Dwayne, if you're watching this later, I'm thinking about you and your family. So, all right. The first thing is, so only Danny didn't read the Neighborhood Revolution?
Just saying.
What, Braden? All right. So let's just do some first thoughts about the Neighborhood Revolution. So a few minutes on that. I don't know what this timer thing is saying, but I can't. It's not, it must be like some bizarre time. All right. So let's find a stopping place. Do you need to? Go ahead. No problem. I thought that yesterday. And I was like, oh, how's this week gonna go? But I feel a lot better today. There's a really bad allergies, but also who knows what else is out there.
Everybody's getting sick because the dorms are. I can feel it too.
Yeah. I hope you feel better.
I'm just. I'm trying to get.
Yeah. When you go later, you can always watch this and you could skip to whatever time it is. You said you already were there for the first part. All right. Let's start with a few shares. Who'd like to go first? Go ahead, Braden.
I thought that my initial thoughts on it were that like, it's symbolic of how he doesn't want to learn how to read, but he wants somebody else to read for him. So he doesn't want to learn, he doesn't want to get smarter because he's kind of under the mindset of I shouldn't know this because I don't need to know this. So he has somebody else do it for him, and I think that's kind of sad.
Okay.
And to be like 45 and not know how to read or write just because you never needed to is
Okay. Is that all your thoughts on that?
yeah. I was trying to find the ending point. I couldn't find it.
Okay. Is it on your paper or you couldn't find it?
No, in my-
All right. Thanks, Braden. Amelia, did you want to share what you wrote?
I just want other people to get a chance
Okay.
to go talk about it.
Is it, what's your name in the back?
I'm there.
Oh, Sarah? All right, go ahead. Would you? Sometimes it's better if you're using this methodology, if you can push people to use what they wrote, it can help them build some confidence in their thinking. So if you can read what you wrote, that's fine. You don't have to read everything. Or you could choose a segment or just do what you need to do so you're comfortable.
That's it. I love how the author believes in everybody's ability to learn and gain knowledge at whatever stage in life they are. It makes me very angry that low-income people of color, their education takes a backseat because of racism. Lots of Black folks are just trying to survive and don't have the time, money, or resources to help themselves out. I'd love to educate like the author that, love to like people who don't believe in themselves to.
Thank you. Don't talk when other people are talking. How about this side? Remind me of your name.
Michael,
Michael. I gotta learn these names, guys. Michael, what'd you write?
I just found it very disheartening that a lot of people in our country are unable to read, even with how much we focus on education at times. But it's also understandable that in lower income places and there's a lot of struggles that people go through that education isn't as important or the focus in their lives.
What's your name? Next to, you can go too. Go, Sydney. That's all right. Please go, Sydney.
Relates to the previous text we wrote, but I mean, like, it doesn't like totally like, they're not the same, but they both touch on kind of, how there's a stereotype of Black people to, act ghetto, or just like to have like a lower IQ, and I feel like, I can't, like, obviously I can't really speak on it very much because I'm white, but like, from like what I like, because I know a lot of like, I grew up with a lot of Black people. I feel like they kind of, or even just like low class people in general, like succumb themselves, and make themselves to be like a lower IQ person because that's all they see themselves.
Okay.
And like, because that's all their work kind of sees.
Mm-hmm.
That's how they feel. It's
Thank you. And behind Sydney,
I thought this,
what's your name?
Liam,
Liam. I'm just doing that because I gotta learn people's names. I can't only know Braden and Amelia's name.
I thought it was really powerful because this is a really big problem in poverty areas and most stricken areas. And I don't know, I like that the main character was trying to help Doug like read, because I feel like in the back of Doug's mind, he did want to learn. He was just really embarrassed. He didn't want to like reach out because he thought people would make fun of him. So I just hope there's more people like the main character out there.
Mhm. Thank you. What was your name? Yeah,
William.
William. Would you like to, could you share what your first thoughts were?
Yeah, sure. Like William said, I thought it was really cool that he was teaching the guy how to read. I think that's really important, and that a lot of people don't know how to read. And I worked in fast food, and there was a lot of people who would come in because I live in a poor town, and a lot of people come in and don't know how to read, and I find that
Really?
well, not sad, but like I feel bad for them because they never got the opportunity to learn.
Thank you. Anybody else? Kelly, did you want to share your thoughts on this? First thoughts on this writing? All right. So well, honestly, I think I was trying to do a couple different of my prompts at the same time, to be honest, because I was trying to reskim it, even though I've read it a gazillion times. But I used to teach reading, and I heard this all the time, quote unquote, reading is boring. What I thought about that was really mainly frustration until I stopped trying to use my favorite authors from high school, who happened to be all white men, and started to learn about where my students were from and choose authors that they had a connection with. And then I got distracted trying to actually do my first thoughts about the whole thing. And then so it's just like notes. I have some noticings, just blanket ones, and I also have some things I want to clarify about the author. So I don't know why I didn't put the author on here, but he is a Black man who wrote this. And so he was writing in a way he talks with his friends. And I have to say, my daughter talks this way, you know? So sometimes the way we hear things and make judgments about that is something we have to think about. And sometimes I wish my daughter would like stop doing that, because then I start doing it and it's like not cool because I'm white and 54. But anyway, so we want to also, think about audience. Sometimes people talk different with their friends than they do like at work or whatever. And this man was relaying to you how he was talking to people in his neighborhood. So that was one thing. Like I should have probably had that on there. And I think last year I said, I got to put the author on here, but you wouldn't have known just because I put his name. It wouldn't have told you that. But he is a Black man. And I actually have his whole book of essays. They're really good essays. And I guess I learned about it at Bard, but a lot of my students, when I used to teach reading here, really connected with it. So the other thing I was thinking about is some people felt like it sounded like he didn't want to learn to read. And I was trying to I didn't want to look like I was making a reaction to that. So I was like, where did they find that? But what were you going to say?
I think it's less that he didn't want to. I think it's more that he was 45 and stuck in a cycle, and he felt like he couldn't learn to read.
Right. That's sort of where I'm at, but I don't know it for sure. But that's kind of my take on it, was that it would be very scary. And what if he couldn't do it? Then this person who's a professor or teacher would know, and that'd be terribly embarrassing. Although he knows he can't read, I don't think some people don't try and then they don't fail. There is like this, there's anxiety can work both ways. You can either try to get 100 on everything, or you know what, if I don't turn that in, I just didn't turn it in. Doesn't matter, you know? And I've actually had a lot of students, especially maybe since, maybe it didn't change after the pandemic. I'll say I've always had students who will almost have all the work done, but they won't submit it because they're afraid it's not good enough. And that's hard for me as a teacher, because I know if I can see what's going on, I can meet them where they are and help them. But that's a really scary thing. And I think it talks a lot about our public school system, that when you get to a community college, you're still struggling with that idea of having to turn something in and, oh my God, what is somebody going to think? And I was more on the side of I have to get an A on everything. And that made me just as crazy and neurotic as not turning anything in and not accomplishing anything that I really want to accomplish, right? So both sides are really hard, and we really need to try to help people get in the middle. And making mistakes is such an important thing. I don't know about other people, but like my dad, always, nothing I did was right. You get a 95, why didn't you get 100? You know, why, you know, nothing's good enough, nothing's right, you can always do better. It's everything's a competition. That didn't help me either. It just made me insane. And when I graduated with my master's with a 4.15, someone said at an interview, wow, you don't have a personal life. They actually held it against me, because it doesn't show someone being a rounded person if all you're ever doing. I needed to learn. I never learned. My theory was if I do as much as I can and I'm so well prepared, then if I don't do well, at least I tried my hardest. But it didn't give me time to do anything else. The real key is to figure out how much do I really need to do to meet my goals and achieve my goals and still have a life. And I had sons, at least two sons, who were experts at doing just enough to pass, which drove me insane, but I kind of was jealous. And now they're very successful, like accountants. Don't tell them I said that. And then I have another one who was really afraid of failure and turned almost nothing in until he decided what he wanted to do and had a goal he wanted to achieve. But he could have maybe not overcome that at all. And then my daughter tried to get A's on everything. So all of those things are actually pretty hard. But if you add poverty into it and not being able to make ends meet, holy shit, it's a lot harder. You know, my kids all had a lot of white privilege. So I say they had it pretty good. But the struggle of the student is real. It's really a mindset, right? I think a lot of it has to do with what we do in education. And by the time, if a lot of you are interested in high school, that's almost a little late to the game, but you could totally shut someone down in high school. I am trying to work with my early childhood teachers and my, the childhood elementary ed to really talk about how valuable failure is, and not, maybe it isn't a failure, it's like a mistake, or this is a learning opportunity. I mean, the reason some of you may find our writing classes frustrating is you're supposed to do a process, but what did you all do in high school? Probably many of you turned it in at the last minute and you got a great grade, and you could brag about how you wrote it in 2 hours and it was fabulous. But what they're going to try to make you do in college is turn in a rough draft, revise it, get feedback from your peers, revise it again. And it's going to make some of you who would probably, if you could just turn it in at the last minute, it's going to be harder because you might not turn in all the steps. It's just a different way of looking at it. But it can help if you're really anxious. Doing the process should be helpful because you don't have to have it perfect. The whole idea is just to get a first draft done. All right, I've talked a lot. What other noticings? If I said noticed something you noticed too and you want to comment on it, please do. Or if there's something else you noticed. Amelia, come on.
And then I was like, say that, I just don't. So there was two fun parts. Well, parts that kind of made me go, huh. Let's see, where is it? Okay, he inhaled 4 or 5 wings at a time and spit the bones out like shotgun shells. I thought
That's
that
kind of
was
gross.
amazing.
Amazing.
And they were commenting on how like, they got the wings from Aldi's and it tasted like pigeon. And that was funny. And also, this part where it says convincing people to read in society where the primary use for books is decorations and drink coasters. So I thought, well, that's very interesting because like that was never a thing before. That was, sure enough, you could go to certain places and see like books displayed beautifully, like on countertops or whatnot. But they weren't so much as a decoration as they were like a library, on somebody's wall. So, and they had use, not just like for like, oh, it's like a great artist, and we looked at it once a little bit, and if someone's bored when I go into the next room, well, what are they gonna do now? They're gonna go on their cell phones to entertain themselves. So it's not you can check cell phones at the door at someone's house. I'm evading the subject, but I was just gonna say that I read this with my boyfriend, who is African American barber, and I really tried to get him to like read the first part of it because I just sounded like a white chick,
Mhm.
and I wasn't gonna try to do it, but then I noticed at the second part that he changed his tone a lot, and he went from quoting on the street, talking with his friends, to his academic understanding.
Yep.
And then talked about all these different authors that he liked and was trying to get people to read. So
Actually, some of those books he talks about are some of the books that I have taught from when I used to be a reading teacher here, when they used to have reading classes. Not all of them, but some of them. But that's an interesting thing to note. I also want to say I have a library in my house, and I haven't read all those books. I just wasted a lot of money on them. I mean, I have a desire to read them. I do not have time, probably.
do you ever think that your library is there so people can see who you
I hate to have people come to my house.
But do you ever think like I'm gonna have these books on my shelf so people know like the type of person I am?
Absolutely not, because I don't invite people to my house. Honestly, I thought, well, a lot of them are books that my kids liked and I wanted to keep them. But then there are some books I bought because I'm like, oh, I gotta read about Anna Bias Moore and critical race theory, and I want this author. This looks really good. And then I'm almost embarrassed by the number that I have that I haven't read. But it really isn't about, for me, it may be for other people. And I do think there's plenty of people with a lot of money that just have books and they don't open them. Do you ever see those libraries where they're all in the same cover?
Yeah.
That's fucking bullshit. It's not I don't even know what that is. Like every book in red.
I do like some of the ones that they do like the really nice versions of the, just
Maybe.
yeah, like they make it really pretty.
And
I only buy it for like the sort that I like and reread.
Mm-hmm.
So like the Game of Thrones one, I buy the pretty ones. Any sort of Tolkien,
We
get
have
pretty
the
ones.
leather-bound Lord of the Rings
Yep.
in our library, the
Mhm.
little ones.
I
And
thought-
they're beautiful. I think she has the Hobbit too.
I have a bunch of also like old 80s, 90s ones
She has
that were like those thin paperback ones, like for to those others.
she's got a couple of like first edition Nancy Drews and things like that in hers.
I wish I had some of that stuff because I read the Bobbsey twins when I was younger, and I'd like.
She yelled at.
Hmm. All right. I can't remember your name. Andrew, what were your thoughts about the reading?
I thought it's like inspiring. Like, we have to, even if they're older, we still should have some kind of responsibility to help other people,
Mhm.
whether that be help them learn how to read or help them in some other way.
Mhm.
It was very inspiring. Like, as teachers, we should strive to make society as a whole better.
What if like Dub, I think it's really cool how Dub, he's too afraid to do it himself, but he's gonna pay for his daughter to do it. And so I think it's good at a certain point, like we have to know when to stop, you know, and support Dub the way he needs to be supported, like, because in Dub's mind, he's a done deal already, which is too bad. And I think this guy will always be available if Dub ever changed his mind. But I might have been tempted to be like, I'll teach you how to read it, but I'm not going to read it to you. You know, I hope not, but you never know. Probably not. I probably would have read it to him. But we have to resist that urge, I think, because we are going to have like other people might make judgments when they meet him, but we as teachers are going to have the knowledge that there's more going on there. Maybe he's afraid, maybe who knows what. I do have a lot of admiration for this man as a teacher. Like, it takes some people a long time to get there to really realize what's going on and how to really impact your people. And that's one of the reasons I was like, when Dwayne was talking about wishing more people from his neighborhood would go to college, this man really reminded me kind of what Dwayne was saying. And I hope he gets a chance to read it for sure. Now, what's interesting is this essay ends with the author of the next narrative, personal narrative. It says, I once heard Sherman Alexie say, rich people who don't read are assholes and poor people who don't read are fucked. He's right. So if we can help create readers and writers, thinkers will be birthed, people will be better communicators, social relations will enhance drastically, and our city will be a less violent place. So what do you guys know about Sherman Alexie? Because I used to like teaching this essay a lot more than I do now. Braden.
See the guy that you told us?
Well, mad things meaning he,
Bad.
what, bad? He's known as being I think a sexual harasser. I don't know. I didn't read a lot about it. I hope did he assault women? I think it's harassment. I think he's part of the Me Too movement. Yeah. So, and actually one of my friends who's a sociologist was working on this big thing with his novel. Someone in here said it's one of their favorite books. One of the things Sherman Alexie is really interesting to read about is he's Native American, and he fits a stereotype that a lot of people have stuck on Native Americans, and that's that he was an alcoholic. And so seeing what he did with that self-knowledge and how he chose to overcome it is actually was really cool. And then the controversy comes, like, because a lot of us, and I'm definitely there, we cancel people. And so that's the struggle. After my friend had already like finished this whole thing for Bard and this conference, and I was like, you're gonna teach that? Really? And actually it's kind of funny because talk about a lot of hard lessons I've learned in my teaching years. I used to read campus reads, and I chose a book by, it's about a Black man's journey, but written by his best white friend. And she gave me shit about that, which honestly, I needed to hear, but it was a good discussion. Well, the controversy came in that, oh, what is it? God damn it, I can't remember anything. Anyway, he went to Yale, this black man. He overcame a lot of obstacles, but he was still selling drugs to make ends meet. He was actually a chemist and could create new versions of things and, whatever. And he ended up dying. And his friend, who was his roommate and everything, wrote this book. And my friend, other black people at the college, like in our, what's it called now? It used to be called DIAC. Maybe it's DIAC. They were doing it with me, and DIAC was supporting it or sponsoring it and got books for everybody. And they said a lot of the narration of the book resonated with them. So on one hand, my white friend was negating their connecting with the story, but she wasn't wrong. Like, why am I not choosing a black author or a black woman writer? So there's a lot of nuances to all of this, and don't even think you're not going to make a mistake, because it's going to happen. You just have to be able to learn how to learn from it.
But at the same time, he's not here to tell his story, and that is the closest person to tell the story. I feel like shouldn't matter race.
Well, that's interesting that you say that. I mean, on one hand, the people that were in this committee with me, who felt like it resonated with them for their story, felt like he did a great job of telling the story, and the family supported it. It's just, I think we always have to think about it. Like my children, who are pretty white and a lot more conservative than me. Do you remember the book American Dirt? It was about a Latina family or a journey or something, and it was in the news that this person who wasn't Latina shouldn't be writing this book. They bought me that for Christmas as a joke. So my kids, I got a lot of educating to do. All right, but these things are things that you have to think about as teachers. We only have so much budget to choose books. We only have so much airtime and headspace to share these things with children or students. And so when we make those choices, we have to remember that that's like prime time. Like, that's an opportunity to just share more, diverse authors. And it's not to say that this story wasn't a good story, but maybe it wasn't the one to do as a campus read, or maybe just the fact that we had those conversations is good enough. That's important stuff to talk about. And going forward, I probably would choose an author, not because I wouldn't read that book or I wouldn't love that book. Maybe I'd even teach the book, because I can teach a lot more books in my class than I can choose for a campus read. But I'm going to honor an author from a heritage, so that I'm giving space for us to learn about an author I don't know about. I used to only teach authors I loved in high school, and it turned out they were all white men. And I was like, I didn't know how ignorant I actually was, to be quite honest. Not because that, but because why did my teachers teach me other authors, even women authors. I don't remember a lot of women authors in high school. So now I take it much more seriously. And in my early childhood class, one of them, I do a read aloud. I used to do Charlotte's Web. And then I was like, why am I doing Charlotte's Web when I have this whole thing about, now I do something by Grace Lin. After the pandemic, a great number of Asian people were discriminated against because of COVID, and stereotypes and BS put on them about the disease and where it came from. And this author, Grace Lin, felt so uncomfortable in school and wanted to be Dorothy of The Wizard of Oz at her school play, but they wouldn't let her because she was Asian. So when she grew up, she wrote her own, it's a similar coming of age story, one that she could star in, And so now I share that. And it's one of my favorite stories. In the past, I always was very tunnel vision, like just what I've been exposed to. But I'm a lifelong learner. That's why I have the books. Hopefully someday I'll read a lot of them. But now it's like, that's a chance to share that with people, and then they'll share it with people. So, I think every one of those mistakes, though, I learned a lot from. Like, I still might, it's a movie. And if I could tell you the movie, I'll tell you next time because I can't remember. I'm actually friends with the author on Facebook. I was like, I didn't dare invite him to campus. He said he'd come because I'm a friend to like get in his face about the whole thing. But that probably would have been a really good story too. His name is Jeff Hobbs, is the author. The Short Life of Robert Peace. That's it. Anyway, so 21 years, I got a lot of times I made mistakes and I learned from them, and probably other people learned from them too. So Sherman Alexie, I don't know. I still think this story, when I read it at Bard before his whole Me Too issues, actually really was a pivotal experience for me with my father. I'll just give that introduction. So I decided to keep it in, but I don't always think that's the right choice, especially when we only have a limited amount of authors to share. I will say that a lot of the things we're going to read or talk about going forward, that's been definitely a part of the decision-making process. But this still, to me, resonates a lot. But it maybe you guys will convince me to chuck it out. You'll never know. All right. So has anyone done it or read this for today, or should we wait? If you haven't, if you don't have it with you, maybe you could kind of start looking through it. We can maybe discuss it Thursday. Let's take a turn. So be ready to have it, to go with it on Thursday. I can't even remember what day of the week it is. Let's talk about learning styles. So, because one of the activities I do want you to think about as we're going forward is, and as new college students or returning college students, however you view yourself, this is your chance. You don't got to do stuff the way, how in high school everybody tells you how to do stuff, what you got to do, how you got to do it, when you got to do it. Well, a lot of you are going to have choices to make about how you study and how you do work or what work you do. And there's not as much oversight. So in my mind, one of the things I can help people with a lot is this metacognitive piece. And it's one of the things that we're really designing. It is a bit of a buzzword, yet it's not. So metacognition is a goal I have for all my students. And when I was a reading teacher, I was definitely trying to build their metacognition. Does anyone know what metacognition is? And there is a handout if anyone wants to refer to it. I think I already handed them out. It looks like this. Sure. If anyone else wants one, maybe you can come down and grab it. So metacognition is really knowing what you know about how you think or what you need to do to meet your goals, and then taking action to do it. So when you're reading, you're trying to get students to read in such a way that they understand. If they didn't just remember something, or they don't understand what they just read, metacognition would say, maybe I better reread that, right? And if you don't reread it and you're like, I read it, but I didn't understand it, that would mean to me, I might not say it because I don't think it's very motivational, that I need to help you build your metacognition, right? So if you're at a point where every time you read something, you fall asleep and you don't remember it, we got to work on why, which is why I was trying to show you the active reading process very preliminarily, like setting a purpose for reading, for what you're about to do, how are you going to have to use it. You can use that in every class. Set a purpose before you start, and then do a little bit and meet your purpose. So we're working on metacognition. Learning styles can help us individually. So most of you may have heard of like auditory, kinesthetic, or visual. All right. Have you guys heard about that? So this is only dealing with that. did I tell you guys? I think I did. Maybe it was another class. So I was teaching this last year and each student did a presentation or taught something. And they were teaching this, and apparently now there's a new version since the pandemic. So it's always been this for decades. And then this dude stands up in front of me in class and says, no, now there's another one. And this one made the mistake again, not in any kind of nice way. I was like, that's not true. My master's is in this. There is no way that there is a reading style of learner. That's the whole point of learning is you're reading. Like, what the hell are you talking about? And then one of my other students Googled it. There it was. And they some added reading after the pandemic because no one was reading.
But oh, okay. All these styles.
I'm just like, wouldn't reading fit under visual?
Reading fits under
Yeah,
all of
like-
them. You have to read for all of them
Yeah,
in some
Not-
way, shape, or
you
form.
have to read.
Well, actually, you don't.
For like,
Not for visual and auditory, because you could watch YouTube videos and listening. Honestly, I mean, I think it's ridiculous. I'm not gonna lie. I didn't need to interrupt his presentation and tell him he was full of crap, which I didn't use that word. I probably said, that's bullshit, if I'm totally honest. So yes, I still make mistakes. And then when they said that, I was like, wow, that shows how low we've gone, that now we're gonna say that this is a way to learn. I thought that was it used to be, that's the whole idea of elementary school is first you teach them to read and then they read to learn. So I don't know. I'm hoping that disappears, and that's not on this survey. And I actually, when I went to find the surveys, I didn't find a survey that had the reading thing on it. So, it was, I don't know. Anyway, one thing, the survey that I handed out that I would like you to complete is just to kind of see where your strengths are. You may already have an idea of which of these really fits into your learning style or preferred learning style. And some of us will have one that's like really strong, and then maybe, and some of us will be evenly distributed. But an important part of learning what your learning style is going to help you be more successful in school. But when you're a teacher, we need to realize that people don't all learn the same way. Now, a lot of public school stuff I hear is not really taking that into account. A lot of times people feel ostracized because they didn't fit into some cookie cutter mold. But I would put out there that teachers are supposed to help students learn the way that meets their, ability or their strengths. And maybe there's times when that's not possible, but as much as possible, we can empower students to use their learning preferences to be more successful and meet their goals. Yes.
I did look for your book that we're supposed to read on Audible, and I don't think I found it.
John Ayers.
Yes, I was like, let me just try.
I bet he did that on purpose. I'm surprised he didn't, because everybody does it. But I did record some of those chapters. Now that you want to listen to me read it. Go ahead.
54% of adults in the US read below 6th grade level.
I'd love to know how they figured that out. Wouldn't you?
I'm just sending out a survey.
Well, yeah.
Read
That's
these
what I'm
words.
saying. Like,
What they mean
how you
at the
gonna?
top of
That's
your
a
head.
blanket statement.
They
Yeah.
How is that even scientifically
They
possible
must
to?
have collected
Maybe back high school
study.
Yeah, it could also
Yeah,
be like,
But even if they can read at the 6th grade level, that's better than not being able to read at all.
well, yeah. That's
What, do you know what level most textbooks are written at? You should look that up, because they're not that hard. I think New York Times is it at 10th grade or is it lower? I think it's 10th grade.
It's high school based.
It says 21% of adults are totally illiterate. So,
1%.
yeah, I know. It's
What was the number in the US or world?
This is just in the US.
It was like billion,
Oh, in the world it would be like way higher.
wasn't it? In here?
There's
That's crazy.
Something like that.
as teachers, we're gonna deal with it being our goal to make people not illiterate.
Well, yeah,
So we only have control over the people in our class.
I didn't know it was that high.
No, it's, I mean, that guy says it's criminal. And it is because, and there are people, and I may be one of them, that believe that if they keep us a little bit uneducated, yeah. So no matter what people believe, education is critical to making sure that our country is based on what we believe in. It may not be what I want, it may not be what you want, but I want to at least know that people have the ability to make, you know, educated, critical thinking decisions.
It was in the reading, 32 million people.
And that's getting old, that reading, so it's probably a lot bigger.
Especially with like the kids that were sitting at like, cause I know I was in 8th grade taking algebra 1 and like my math foundation was terrible after COVID. So like the kids that were in like K, the kids that were in like K through 2, K through 3 and COVID, like that,
Yeah.
What math are you taking now?
I'm taking college algebra now. Right now.
How is it?
Major. It's my second, third look at it, but like through math in high school, like I was 60s and 70s
Yeah.
coming home to mom and dad, and they were like, at this point, just pass.
Right. Well, and I think if you are people that were learning that stuff for the first time during COVID, you have to give yourself a bit of a break. If you think it's going to be hard, don't forget there's the support course. I mean, honestly, it's there to help you get through that. And to be honest, if I was going in high school during COVID, when I'm on a meeting for work, I'm like doing dishes and stuff. If it's on live. What?
It just changed, COVID as a whole just changed so many different things in the way that we do.
And supposedly this was added after COVID. I don't know.
Sometimes.
Yeah.
Just surviving the whole pandemic online, like.
But I don't even want to get into this, Danny, but were you doing the online classes during
Yeah.
COVID?
I did it for longer than most.
So do you think did you learn anything, or did they just pass you, or what?
Class, the teacher literally had us sign on, said hi for attendance, and then we could go as long as we submitted
So
the.
what I'm gonna say is those teachers, if they were anything like me, they were in chaos and crisis too.
True, but
So-
also it's helpful.
Our school gave everybody passing grades.
Yeah.
I'm like
They
all the
took
time.
away
Okay, Danny, but come on.
School,
I agree.
K through 12, they just took away your 4th marking
Oh,
period.
no, I'm saying-
They averaged like all of them together, took away your 4th marking period, and you got like the average of your 3 for your 4th marking period grades. It was very odd.
Yeah, I'm taking my college math class online, like I'm not, I.
I wouldn't have done that.
Can you learn from that in that way?
Yeah, I'll learn enough to pass the class.
I just sucked it up.
Don't forget, just so you know,
He learns by reading.
well, that's good.
Are you
Thank
taking-
God,
are you taking
but-
math right now? Or are you waiting?
To take it over the summer, so I can focus on.
Okay, good. So the one difference with high school is now you guys, most of you want to transfer. So there are going to be 1 or 2 courses where everybody might be like, I just got to pass. But you also want to make sure whatever school you want to transfer to, that you earn a high enough GPA. So figure out which ones are going to be the struggle. And I mean, this is if you're being strategic. Sometimes the first semester, you got to do what you got to do. You got to live your life experience and figure it out. But my advice would be, if you know math is going to be hell, summer is a great strategy. Absolutely. But also, like, then get higher grades and other stuff. Like, to transfer to Cortland, depending on the program, it's higher than other schools. You want to make sure that you're going to have a high enough GPA. Because in high school, you could just pass, but that's not how it's going to be if you want to transfer. You want to be able to transfer.
There's support programs for a lot of the lit-ed.
There's for math and for English.
Can you get as many credits in the course?
So
No.
the support class, I'm in the support class for college, but the support class is 2-credit class. It's literally an hour before my math class every day with one of the TC3 tutors going over the things that we're going to do in class with the actual professor.
So you'll get 3 credits for the algebra class?
I
and you
get, and then I
five
get a
math?
separate 3, so I'm getting 5 credits for math.
So, listen, this is why there's no more reading classes. Reading classes used to be, pre-college support, and they don't work to motivate people, okay? Because who wants to be in a pre-college course and not earn college credit? But this is sort of the next best generation or iteration. If you are going to not pass a math class or can do a lot better in it with support, then you need to do the support class, right? But if you can test into the class without the support class, you also can get free tutoring. It's just that a lot of people aren't disciplined enough to go and get the tutoring. All right. So what are we doing for Thursday? Fill out this survey, the learning style survey, and also just make sure, if you hadn't already, that you've read the Superman Sherman Alexie essay, okay? And that's where we'll pick up on Thursday. Thank you, guys. What's your name? I just want to get it in my head. Right there. Okay, perfect. And what's your name? Bloody Lord, hello. You were online on
I
last
was.
week at some
I
point.
was working.
I'm glad you're here.
Yeah. My roommate's
Mhm. What was that?
My roommate has an ESA. She ran out of the department while I was working to class. So I had to.
What does it even say?
See,
Okay, I
I
think
had to
there's
run
only a
after.
D that I saw in the window. It's actually a little great cat.
no, she has, she was in D building
Sydney.
last semester. She
Hold
was
on.
first floor D building. She had Gianna Galuccio. She has a white flame point Siamese.
I
It's
remember
beautiful. She's
If you are going to be a teacher, you still need a language, so ASL is a good choice. But you could do Spanish instead. But you don't want to teach history, you want to teach English. I think you're good. No, I think that's smart.
He gives me a trick question.
No, you're right.
Trick question.
All right, Maxwell,
Gives us all hope.
Oh my God.
what's your name?
But his cat was hanging out.
How are you doing, Jacob?
Shakespeare, I love
Good.
cat.
Thank
Yeah,
you.
This man had no experience raising an animal from me, like,
This is your roommate?
this was the first year one, remember the cat murder one?
You gotta stop having like,
Same people,
yeah,
This year it's crazy.
Amelia,
She
did
loses
that
her
go okay?
boyfriend.
I'm sorry?
do you feel like that discussion went all right?
Yes,
I had to pull it back a little. Because it got out of control fast last time and I didn't do a good job.
that's okay.
The other super.
I was just mad, that he got interrupted because not only is he from the inner city, he was sharing and he obviously was very shy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I'm glad you said something, but I also had to,
Yeah, I grew up.
that's all right.
I've been bottling that up for a very long time.
Well, you know what, it's gonna happen. But as a future teacher, you're gonna wanna practice not.
Punching bags or something.
I have a question for you.
Great.